Nishkuranand Swami writes, Prakat vato prakat vartaman re, Prakat bhakta prakat bhagwan re, Nathi udharani eke vat re, Je je joye te te sakshat re. Our understanding of Bhagwan is not based on imagination, hearsay, or second-hand belief. We're not speaking of a Bhagwan who is distant, abstract, or somewhere high up in the sky. Whatever is needed is present, manifest before us. The same vato, the same niyams, the same caliber of bhakto that were present 200 years ago are also present today. Why? Because the same Bhagwan who was present 200 years ago is also manifest today. We can become content, fulfilled today, right here, right now. But first, let's ask ourselves, what should be in our life for us to realize or experience it to be meaningful or fulfilling? If we look honestly at our own lives and at the lives of others, we realize that the idea of a meaningful life is not random. It expresses itself through certain deep inner longings, and these longings can be understood in four fundamental ways. The first, happiness and peace. The second, self-improvement. The third, our Guru's rajipo. And finally, the fourth, Moksh. Freedom from anger, greed and fear, the desire for eternal bliss, and the ultimate reunion with Bhagwan. Krupa karo mujhe upare, sukh nidhi sahajanand, gun tamara gavva buddhi aap jo sukh kand. Shri Swaminarayan Bhagavan ni jai, Akshar Purushottam Maharaj ni jai, Gunatitananda Swami Maharaj ni jai, Bhagat Ji Maharaj ni jai, Shastri Ji Maharaj ni jai, Yogi Ji Maharaj ni jai, Pramukh Swami Maharaj ni jai, Mahant Swami Maharaj ni jai, Surat Akshardham Mahotsav ni jai. In the last chapter of the Bhakta Chintamani, Prakran 164, Nishkuranand Swami writes, Prakat vato prakat vartaman re, Prakat bhakta prakat bhagwan re, Nathi udharani eke vat re, Je je joye te te sakshat re. Nathi udharani eke vat. Our understanding of Bhagwan is not based on imagination, hearsay, or second-hand belief. We're not speaking of a Bhagwan who is distant, abstract, or somewhere high up in the sky. Je je joye te te sakshat re. Whatever is needed is present, manifest before us. The same vato, the same niyams, the same caliber of bhakto that were present 200 years ago are also present today. Why? Because the same Bhagwan who was present 200 years ago is also manifest today. We can become content, fulfilled today, right here, right now. But first, let's ask ourselves, what should be in our life for us to realize or experience it to be meaningful or fulfilling? If we look honestly at our own lives and at the lives of others, we realize that the idea of a meaningful life is not random. It expresses itself through certain deep inner longings, and these longings can be understood in four fundamental ways. The first, happiness and peace. The desire to live without misery and to experience contentment. Could be from having harmony in the family, peace in our mind even amidst challenges, sharing joy with friends and family. The second, self-improvement. Deep within us, there's a natural desire to become better than we are today. And we all recognize these inner whispers. If I woke up earlier, if I used my time better, if I stayed consistent, if I balanced my life more wisely. These thoughts reflect a wish to improve, but wishing alone is not enough. True growth is not merely trying to change, but reaching a place where change has actually occurred. The third, our Guru's rajipo, the heartfelt wish to receive the blessings, guidance, and love of our Guru, Mahant Swami Maharaj. And finally, the fourth, Moksh, freedom from anger, greed, and fear, the desire for eternal bliss, and the ultimate reunion with Bhagwan. When we look at these four aspirations together, we realize something important. The first two are common to human life, but the longing for the Guru's rajipo and for Moksh awakens only in a few, and those who come into satsang. And the fact that these aspirations have arisen in us is not our achievement, but the sheer grace of Bhagwan and the Pragat Satpurush. When these four aspects are aligned, life feels truly fulfilling. So let's begin with something every human heart seeks, the desire for happiness and peace. When we speak of happiness and peace, most of us naturally think in terms of conditions. If we were to sit quietly and make a list of things we feel we're missing in life, we'd realize something interesting. We often feel that if we had these things, our suffering would disappear. But until then, we experience dukh. For example, better health, better job, better finances, better relationships. Each of us has our own list. We also believe that unfavorable situations are the cause of dukh. We feel that whatever happens outside us creates suffering within us. For example, failing an exam, difficulty in finding a job, tension in relationships. These are situations outside us. What follows inside us are frustrations, stress, anxiety, sometimes even depression. It appears as though the situation outside is the cause, and the pain we feel inside is the result. But this is not entirely true. Because if the external situations alone were the cause of happiness or suffering, then everyone in the same situation would feel the same way. Yet we see a billionaire who has everything and still feels dissatisfied and restless. At the same time, we see someone with very little, struggling materially, yet content and peaceful on the inside. So then the question arises, why does the same world, the same suffering, produce such different inner states? It appears there's something that filters the outside situation before it reaches inside. And this filter is samjhan, the understanding of our satsang values. Let us now explore the lives of our gurus and how they remained unshaken even amidst difficulties. Our gurus faced severe opposition. Usually, when we introduce someone, we speak about their education, their profession, their achievements, or even if they have any special talents. But Bhagavad Maharaj's identity was very different. He was insulted so frequently and so publicly that he became known as the most insulted person in Vartal. Today we find it difficult when someone merely points out our own genuine mistakes. Forget insults and humiliation. So it's almost beyond our comprehension what Bhagavad Maharaj must have endured for such an identity to even exist. Still, his inner state never changed. On 7th of April 2024 in Sarangpur, Mahant Swami Maharaj revealed Bhagavad Maharaj was literally harassed because of his absolute obedience to his Guru Gurantitana Swami. Yet, even then, Bhagavad Maharaj did not take even the slightest offense towards anyone. In the face of such treatment, Bhagavad Maharaj continued to praise others. He continued to serve. He continued to remain absorbed in joy, a state Mahant Swami Maharaj describes as unprecedented in the history of satsang. Our gurus also faced false accusations. around the years 1905 to 1906, Bhimji Kothari began spreading a rumor that Shastriji Maharaj had taken 5,000 to 7,000 rupees from the Saharanpur Hanuman Mandir accounts. As opposition intensified, this accusation was deliberately inflated, eventually reaching a staggering 60,000 rupees. In today's value, that's equivalent to nearly $5 million US. This wasn't mere gossip. It was a sustained campaign of harassment intended to stop Shastriji Maharaj from establishing the Akshar Purushottam Upasana. On 26th of July, 1906, Bhavani Shankar, an officer from Naryad, travels 160 kilometers to Saharanpur to investigate this matter. And after examining Ishwar Bhagat, a resident of Saharanpur Mandir for 25 years, the conclusion was unmistakable. Shastriji Maharaj had not taken even a single penny. At a time when opposition and harassment surrounded him from all sides, Swami Shri remained unshaken. Our gurus also faced a severe lack of basic resources. Yogiji Maharaj himself would often recall those days. He'd say, once, one seer of oil lasted for 3 months. Without vegetables, what could we even prepare? Even one proper meal a day was hard to come by. Even something as taken for granted as pickle was unavailable. The sadhus would soak a small stone in salt water and keep it in their mouth whilst eating dry rotlo, simply to add a hint of taste. Yogiji Maharaj often lacked proper shelter, sleeping on the floor in cramped, uncomfortable situations. Now, food and shelter are basic necessities, yet they lacked even these. But there was still only contentment and steadiness. Our gurus have also endured extreme physical hardship. In 1983, Pramukh Swami Maharaj suffered a major heart attack and later underwent a quintuple bypass surgery. Over the years came diabetes, arthritis, gallstones, along with cataract surgery, hip cyst removal, and ongoing knee pain. In 1988 in Toronto, Swami Shri openly shared, "My knees are gone. There's pain in my calves, and even in my heart is pain." Yet still, over his lifetime, he travelled to more than 17,000 cities and villages only for the sake of his devotees. Today, with our own eyes, we see Mahan Swami Maharaj, at the age of 92, continuing that same vichar. On 16th of January 2026, after arriving in Atladra, he quietly shared with his attendants, "When I was younger, I could travel without fatigue. Now, even a small journey truly tires me." Despite his advanced age, despite a bypass surgery, despite a stroke, his resolve remains unchanged. On 31st December 2025, sadhus informed Swami Shri that over the course of the year, he'd traveled to 16 different locations, which means a changing of place once every 22 days on average. Swami Shri replied without pause, "We should be changing location every 4 days, but my health doesn't allow it." But still, he continues for us. So the question arises, what's the one thing we can learn from our Guru's lives to remain steady no matter the circumstances? What can keep our mind steady even when life attempts to shake us? On 13th of September 2023, in Robbinsville, Mahan Swami Maharaj revealed this essence. Praptinã vichar. The Paramhansas stand as living proof of how praptinã vichar anchors the mind in stability. They faced severe and relentless persecution. Sometimes they were publicly assaulted. Weapons were used against them. Even whilst begging for alms, their food was sometimes deliberately contaminated to cause harm. Even in such hardship, Sadguru Brahmanand Swami writes, અતિ આનંદ વાધ્યો છે મારે અંગે રે, જીહો ગીરધારી રાજ મારે દિન દિન દિવાળી રે. An intense joy is overflowing in my heart. Every day feels like Diwali. Every day was a celebration to him. Sadguru Muktanand Swami sings, Anand ur mare ho bhari, kahe Muktanand brahmana bhagi, janam sudharyo re, ho maro janam sudharyo re. He says, my heart is overflowing with bliss. My life has been fulfilled. And Sadguru Nishkuranand Swami, he declares, Nishkurananda danko jitano, vagirayo che aj, vagirayo che aj, bhagya jagya re aj janava. He says the bells of victory are resounding today. Victory? There was nothing in his outer situation that looks like victory. No good food, no comfort, no facilities, not even security. And yet, despite such unimaginable suffering, in the bhajans they wrote, we do not find a single expression of dukh, not one. They sang only of prapti, only of joy, only of anand. The mathematics truly doesn't add up. They had nothing the world calls happiness, but they experienced a joy the world still cannot explain nor experience. And this was not limited only to the Paramhansas. The haribhaktas were just as remarkable. Mahant Swami Maharaj reminds us that those who became a part of Sriji Maharaj's Marana Marka were not distinguished by wealth, learning or status. They were ordinary haribhaktas who lived in extraordinary awareness of prapti. Even today, millionaires living in luxury struggle to taste the peace that these Paramhansas and haribhaktas experienced whilst living in poverty. Because praptinã vichar does not remove suffering, it transcends it. It doesn't change the world outside, it changes the world within. And when that vision changes, dukh dissolves into peace. Now, when a person truly understands what they've already attained, the natural response is not comfort, but the desire to grow, to refine, to better oneself. This naturally leads us to the next aspect of a meaningful life, self-improvement. Fulfillment is not merely in wanting to improve, but when improvement is actually achieved. We know we should wake up early. We know as students should study steadily from the start of the semester. We know we should remain calm and patient with our children. We also know the cost of not doing these things, and many of us have already suffered because of poor habits, stress, or uncontrolled reactions. So the knowledge is there, the intention is there. But why does change still feel so difficult? We wish to improve, we resolve to improve, we make New Year's resolutions, and we even try, and still we fall back. So the question isn't what we should do. We already know that. The real question is, why aren't we able to do it, even when we want to? Sriji Maharaj explains in Vachanamrut, Gadra section 2, number 63, that the root cause is simple and profound. Jivma bar ochushe. The jiv lacks inner spiritual strength. He goes on to say something even more striking. If one's jiv becomes truly powerful, one would not even have impure dreams. Now think about this. A dream state is where we have almost no control. The conscious mind is resting, and the willpower is absent. But Maharaj says, if impurity can be avoided even in that state, then when we're awake, aware, and in control, how can impure thoughts, swabhavs, and harmful actions continue to exist? This tells us that the real solution is not suppression, it's not temporary control, but the inner strength of the Jiva. Gunatitanand Swami, in Swamini Vato, section 1, number 1, highlights that when the true glory of Bhagwan and Sant is understood, the Jiva becomes fortified with courage and spiritual strength. Shriji Maharaj, in Vachanamrit Kadra, section 2, number 13, says, "You also see this Swarup of Bhagwan, but only when you comprehend it fully, then desires for Panchvishais and Swabhavas are subdued easily. Not with struggle, not with exhaustion, but naturally." And haribhaktas who practice praptinã vichar regularly have shared these experiences. They experience less tension and stress and a noticeable coolness within the mind. In situations that previously caused agitation, they're able to remain calm. When impure or unwanted thoughts arise, they're able to stop them early. And if the mind does drift, doing praptinã vichar brings it back immediately. They experience better control over ego, a reduction in anger. The mind no longer runs towards vishais. Focus has improved in studies, at work, and even during daily puja. Many share that they can feel the jiva becoming purer. Thoughts have become more positive, and they're more mindful of their words and reactions. Even at home, relationships have improved, and there's more mutual respect and peace. Up to this point, the first two aspects we discussed, happiness and peace and self-improvement, are aspirations shared by all human beings. Everyone seeks peace, and every thoughtful person wishes to grow. But for a satsangi, life doesn't stop there. Life doesn't stop at happiness or progress. A deeper question arises. And this brings us to the third step of a meaningful life. What truly pleases our Guru? What draws the rajipo of the Satpurush? Recently, many of us have had the great fortune to offer seva in mandir projects. Some served in the sacred construction of Robbinsville Akshardham in North America, which was grandly inaugurated by Mohan Swami Maharaj in 2023. Many are currently serving in the building of Shikharband Mandirs, for example, Paris, Johannesburg, Sydney, with Akshardham soon to rise in Surat and Melbourne, Australia. Let's not forget the hundreds of Hari Mandirs being nurtured in our local communities. In this seva, haribhaktas gave their blood, sweat and tears, serving day and night, forgetting food, rest and comfort, driven only by love for our Guru. In these vast mandir projects, seva can take many forms. Some serve physically, some contribute financially, and some offer pratna. Now imagine, if one person alone could sponsor an entire mandir, how pleased would Mohan Swami Maharaj be? But let's take our imagination a step further. A mandir made entirely out of gold. Imagine Swami Shri's rajipo. Yet Gunatitanand Swami reveals something striking in Swamini Vato, section 4, number 97. He says, whether mandirs are made of gold, or whether the body becomes emaciated through austerities, only when my true mahima is understood am I pleased. Yeah, Swami is pleased with seva, tap and dedication, but his true rajipo lies elsewhere. Swami makes this even clearer in Swamini Vato, section 1, number 165. He says that when a person follows Bhagwan's agna, understands the Sant Swarup, and understands Bhagwan Swarup, tena upar raji, tene dhanya she. So Swami praises such devotees, not once, but again and again. This shows us that the Guru's rajipo is not earned by how much we build outside, but how clearly we realize his mahima within. And when that understanding becomes firm, his rajipo naturally flows. And when our Guru is truly raji, Moksh is not something we strive for. Moksh is something He bestows upon us. Let us now turn to the fourth and final aspect of a meaningful life, Moksh. Shriji Maharaj makes one truth unmistakably clear. In Vachanamrut, Gadra section 2, number 9, he reveals that one must firmly realize the manifest form of Bhagwan to be the Avtari, the cause of all avatars. Without this conviction, one cannot reach the abode of Purushottam Bhagwan, Akshardham. And in Vachanamrut Gadra section 2, number 21, Maharaj gives his final, uncompromising conclusion. One who has firm conviction in the manifest form of Bhagwan has grasped all fundamental spiritual principles. If not today, Maharaj says, then even after 1,000 years, there's no option but to understand this. So to attain moksha, Shriji Maharaj guides us to one essential understanding, the true Mahima of the manifest form of Bhagwan. And for us today, that manifest form is our Guru, Mahant Swami Maharaj. And when this conviction becomes firm, moksha is no longer only a destination after death, it becomes a present experience of Bhagwan's Sukh, a life lived free from fear and insecurities. We witness this living moksha with our own eyes. In First of His Kind, the documentary on London Mandir, episode 12 brings us face to face with Jayeshbhai Soni, a haribhakta diagnosed with scleroderma, a cruel disease where the body turns against itself. As it attacks the lungs, every breath becomes a struggle. The lungs slowly lose their ability to expand, turning something as natural as breathing into constant effort, constant exhaustion and pain. Doctors say that when scleroderma reaches the lungs, it becomes life-limiting. And in September 2018, Jayeshbhai was told exactly that. This is end-of-life care. Now, just relax yourself and wait for the time to go. There was nothing more medicine could do. Jayeshbhai smiled and he said, "How can a doctor decide when I'll die? Bapa will decide when to take me." He shared that for months he could neither walk nor speak. Yet by Maharaj's grace, that day he could speak only to sing Bapa's praises. He said, "If I live, it is by Bapa's wish. If I die, I will sit in Bapa's lap in Akshardham. So what difference does it make?" There was no fear in his voice, only certainty. You hear his voice, you hear his words, but it is the conviction in his eyes that pierces you. A conviction so firm, it does not shake even at the edge of death. Clenching his fist, he said, "Baba has placed such divinity in my hands that from here I will go, and he is standing right there." He then concludes, "I've won the lottery, whatever the outcome." This isn't absence of suffering. This is victory over fear. This is what praptinã vichar looks like when it's no longer just theory, but life itself. This is moksha, not merely reaching Akshardham one day, but living in Akshardham today. So today, we reflected on 4 pillars of a meaningful life: peace and happiness, self-improvement, living in our Guru's rajipo, and moksha. On 7th of October 2024, in his New Year's letter, Praptinã pratitima parivartit kariye, Mahant Swami Maharaj beautifully reveals that these aren't 4 separate goals. They're deeply connected. He assures us that if we daily practice praptinã vichar, jarur shanti thashe. True peace and happiness will certainly arise. Akshardham thai javashe. Will begin to experience Akshardham within. This is moksha. Satpurushna bhavne pamashe. Will naturally acquire the virtues of the Satpurush who, as Maharaj highlights in Vachanamrut Gadra section 1 number 27, possesses countless noble virtues. And finally, through this letter, Swami Shri lovingly expresses his wish that we do praptinã vichar daily, and in doing so, we become the recipients of his rajipo. Let us pray at the holy feet of Bhagwan Swaminarayan and his manifest form, our Guru Mahan Swami Maharaj, that they bless us with bhakti and the strength to daily do praptinã vichar and live a life as per their wish. Shri Swami Narayan Bhagavan Ni Jai.
Thank you for joining us today and listening with such devotion. Bhagwan Swaminarayan has taught us the power of listening to katha. It purifies our mind and brings us closer to God. So if this katha helped you, give it a like, subscribe for more, and share it with someone you care about. Until next time, Jai Swaminarayan.